Dr. Tonia Cox is here from CHI Memorial Pediatric Care Associates. And she would tell you that laughter is good medicine, so it's a good thing that we were laughing and having a good time at the beginning of the show. She'll also tell you that it's very important that you get your sleep, especially as the kids head back to school. Good to have you this morning.
Thank you. It's great to be here, Julie.
You know, this is a challenge for adults, but especially for children, because they need so much sleep.
Yeah.
How much do they need? If you're talking like a kindergartner.
Well, you know, every child is different and unique, but for our elementary school age children, they need anywhere between 9 and 12 hours of sleep a night, which is surprising for a lot of parents. Yes, and then our middle and high schoolers need anywhere between 8 and 10 hours of sleep.
So that's hard to do even in the depths of winter, much less in these summer
Oh
daylight
my gosh.
hours.
The days are so long, the bright light, it keeps us awake. And also, we have a more relaxed schedule oftentimes with our children. If they don't have to be at school at a certain time, that they get up later, and therefore they stay up later at night.
I was having this conversation with my husband actually on the way into work, thinking, okay, when do we start the transition? So about how long does it take?
Well, a week or two is actually a good time to start reinitiating those bedtime routines and start working that bedtime a little bit earlier. You don't want it to be a complete shock to their system when they have to wake up the night before the first day of school.
Are you a believer in getting like blackout curtains or something like that?
I think that can be really helpful because we do know that bright light keeps our brains awake. Our brains produce a chemical called melatonin, and it needs darkness in order for that to release. So that light can come from sunlight, so blackout curtains or blinds can be a really good way to mitigate that. And then also we have to be mindful of the light that comes out of our devices.
Okay, I was going to segue into that.
Yes, I don't recommend having TVs in the bedroom, and I do recommend a no screen time for an hour before bedtime rule.
And I think we should make it clear that you're a mom of 2 children that are at that age now where they too want their devices, so you understand what you're asking other parents to do.
Absolutely. I know it's challenging, but it's really for their best benefit. I recommend that they not be on their phones, tablets, computers, TV for an hour before bedtime. And I recommend that our kids charge their phones and devices in the kitchen.
Okay. Because you know what I have had happen to me before is you think everything's fine and oh, my child's not going to talk, and probably they won't, but then you hear that because they'll get these automatic texts and updates, and that disturbs your sleep.
Absolutely, and our kids really, through no fault of their own, their brains are not as developed in ours in the prefrontal region, and that part of the brain helps with impulse control. So when they hear that little alarm, or they think, oh, I'm going to check my Instagram just one more time, then next thing you know, an hour has gone by and it's 11:30 and they should have been in bed
a long time ago. Okay, let's talk a little bit. We'll get back to the getting ready for school topics, but you said some people begin to come into your office, they're already thinking about getting their flu vaccines, and this year things are changing.
Yes, there's a big change on our recommendations for flu vaccine this year. We still recommend, along with the American Academy of Pediatrics and the Center for Disease Control, a flu vaccine for every child ages 6 months and up. This year is different because we are not recommending the flu mist. Okay, the flu mist did not provide adequate protection this last flu season, and that is based on data from the Center for Disease Control, the CDC. They found that the flu mist did not provide good coverage this last flu season, so they are not recommending mist. So it'll be a shot for everybody this fall.
So just keep that in mind. Go ahead and either prep your kids or let them handle it once you're there at the office. You know your child, whichever is the better way to do it.
And you don't need to wait on getting your flu vaccine. The flu vaccine is good for an entire year. Okay. So if you come in for your checkup in September or late August and your pediatrician has flu vaccine, go ahead and get it then. There's no reason to wait.
Let's talk about getting those appointments in, because your office already is slammed.
We are very busy with back to school checkups. This is a great time to go ahead and get those forms that parents need for registration to show that they're fully vaccinated and that they've had their exam, and also for all the kids that are involved in sports and activities that may require a pre-participation exam form. This is a good time to get that. any kids that might have a chronic illness where they may need medication at school. So if your child has asthma, you want to make sure you have an asthma action plan with your school nurse that your pediatrician can complete. You want to make sure you have an inhaler if they may need that. And especially kids that have a food allergy, you want to make sure that they have an EpiPen that'll be ready, and everybody knows what to avoid for them as far as you know, their allergies.
And that takes time on both the family's part and on your part, so make sure you have that adequately covered.
Yes.
Okay, you mentioned food allergy. Let's get into just to food and health in general. Summer also a fun time of going to the drive-through and grabbing an easy breakfast.
Milkshakes.
You got to change all that too, because the way you eat affects the way your kids are going to learn.
Absolutely. It can affect how they feel, how they learn. Studies have shown that kids that eat a good healthy breakfast perform better in school. They have better memory retention and performance on tests. So thinking about that ahead of time, if you pack snacks and lunches, going ahead and talking to your kids about what their requests might be, so you can kind of, number one, get them excited about things that you might be packing for them, and then two, all that you can do ahead of time to prepare will make it less stressful when school does start.
And keeping snacks in the car.
Yeah, keeping healthy things available for them when those snack times come up. And then thinking about breakfast. You know, ideally we want to get something healthy in our kids in the morning, and that takes a little bit of forethought because you know, mornings are busy, quite frankly. We want to make sure we get a little bit of protein in them. That'll help them bridge the gap till lunchtime. And make sure that they're staying hydrated. If your kids can take a water bottle to school, that would really be a good thing to pack a water bottle for them.
Okay, let me talk to you too about backpacks. When I was going to school, and perhaps for you too, I didn't have a backpack until I was in college. We just carried our books and just kept them in our locker mostly until we were heading to the specific class. Those days are over for so many kids.
Yes, they are. And I remember when I was in high school, the style was, you know, the one shoulder.
The one shoulder,
And that is really not good for our backs. We want to make sure that our children's backpack has adequate padding between the back and the back of the pack. We want to make sure that the shoulder straps are working. You don't have to buy a new backpack every year, but this is a good time to pull it out, make sure there are no holes, make sure that it's going to work for them, and pack strategically. They don't need to take everything every day, most likely. You want to make sure that the heaviest items are centered and at the bottom of the pack. You want to make sure that it doesn't weigh more than 10 to 20% of their body weight as a general guideline.
Okay. And then you're also a big believer in the fact that kids also feel stress. So if you enjoyed your summer, but summer reading has slipped, go ahead and start now catching up. You don't want that last week to be crazy and fearful.
And stressful, absolutely. So in that regard, for summer reading and any assignments, go ahead and get a jump start on those. And also, if your children are experiencing worries about the first day of school, talk through some things with them. You know, identify if there are any particular things that are causing them anxiety. Maybe talk about situations where they might have been nervous to do something and then in the end they had a great time. You know, talk to them about friends that they might have, the positive aspects of starting a new school year.
Talking is always the key to everything. You got to keep those lines of communication open.
Absolutely.
They're ready to hear from you. CHI Memorial Pediatric Care Associates, Dr. Tonia Cox, our guest this morning. 2 locations on Glenwood Drive, also out on Gun Barrel. 698-BABY-2229, the phone number. Thank you so much. Good luck with your own back to school.
Thank you.
We're back after this.